Hi Virgo, and welcome to your September reading. Okay, so it's forced retrograde because everything is in retrograde, and honestly the past 10 days I have not been able to do anything at all. I've been making mistakes, making bad decisions, letting the wrong people near me, focusing on nothing, being unable to focus at all, spiraling. And I think more than anything, I've been contemplating things that I thought didn't matter anymore. But now is the time for Mercury direct, and it's time to take initiative. And what that means specifically for you, because it has been a retrograde in your sign and it's been brutal, what that means for you is that all the brutality of the past, let's say 3.5 weeks, has led you to a very specific conclusion, and it's not something you want to face. It's not something that you want to admit to yourself. Perhaps it's a new course of action that you know you have to take. Perhaps it is the final release of a sentimentality that you've been holding on to for a really long time. It's something that keeps you small, and it has come up again and again during the retrograde. So now, on the 15th, it's impossible to ignore it. It's as if for the past 3.5 weeks, something has been telling you again and again, this is what makes you less than. This particular character trait, this particular choice that you insist on making again and again, that thing is glaringly obvious and it needs to be left behind. For some of you, this is easy because it's a personal thing, right? It's a characteristic or a choice you continue to make. But for some people, this is a relationship. For some people, this is a job, a friendship, things that are really, really important. And you just know with all your being that you need to move away from it. And there's nothing. I think a lot of times Virgos will hold on because there is some redemptive quality. That person is not the person for me, but they are driven, they're ambitious, they're lovely to be around. That friend is not really my cup of tea anymore, where there isn't a lot of commonality, but they're very connected. And I need those connections in my life. I'm not saying you're opportunistic. I'm saying that when things don't go exactly the way that you want them to, you're not quick to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are things that you choose to hold on to because they're practically sound and they make sense to you. But this retrograde has really gone in on some of that stuff and, asked you some pretty confrontational questions like, why do you insist on settling for less when you have experienced and seen in your life the manifestation of so much more? What is it that makes you feel like this is possible for other people, but that you have to settle? This is part of what's been eating at you. And the answers don't just appear on the 15th. There is a lot of initiative that has to be taken here. It's your time now to make sense of everything that's been swimming around in your head for all these weeks and do something with it. For many of you, that is an end to addiction. Whether you seek help or you're talking to a therapist or you quit or you and your friends made a pact and you're quitting together, there is solidarity for this move. The people around you will support you. The different parts of you support you. Whatever you have been addicted to, you're sick of it, which is generally how addiction works. And you were at that point with it, like, I don't know if I can help this. But the retrograde showed you how you absolutely can help what you feel and what you want, and that you're able, with enough time and calmness and rest, which is what I hope you've been getting, to discern the difference between that which on the surface looks really good intellectually, agrees with you, seems like a great idea, but it's either too sharp, too fast, too blunt, whatever it is, it's too much for you. So along with assessing what we're doing and assessing our vices, our attachments to people, there's also a sense of sheltering the self and saying, okay, I've gotten to spend a little time with myself, and I realize that some of the things that I'm exposing myself to, people, places, emotions, a little too abrasive for me. And I'm really trying to lean back into that gentility or that soft era that is Virgo's domain. You do come out of that fairly quickly when you feel threatened, when you feel insecure, when you feel less than. But you're not feeling that stuff right now. Right now, it's about slowly waking up from a very long sleep where you've had a lot of messages and a lot has been processed. Let's say that. But once something has been processed, it's not complete. Your journey isn't complete because you've done this processing. Now it's time to take what you've thought over and poured over, what you've put in your two different lists of keep and leave, and find a way forward with that information. It's not enough to just sit on it. Something new has to come out of that now. So for a lot of you, the initiative here is going to be, I need more friends. I've cut off too many people. For some of you, it will be, I need to create a sense of family that I choose for myself, because the families that have been given to me continue to let me down, and it's a source of too much hurt for me. It makes me feel too insecure. It makes me feel abandoned and like I don't have any sort of a base. For some of you, this is understanding that the people that you attract into your life are, for the most part, not for you, but against you. And that they're really appealing to the part of you that beats the shit out of yourself. And that what they commiserate with you on is this feeling within you of not being good enough. Although on the outside, what they're being presented with is high confidence, beauty, mashallah, intelligence. And yet you're thinking, why am I resonating and attracting people who treat me badly? It's because they're resonating with how you really feel about yourself. A lot of times what people don't understand about Virgos is that the exterior is so very perfect and so very controlled because it is a desperate attempt to hide the mess and the chaos that is Mercury inside. And so where Gemini, also ruled by Mercury, can live this dual life, both sides of that life are open. Both sides of that person, both twins, are visible. And so there is a lot more freedom in that. There's more joy even in that, because there is a forced authenticity, if you will. The thing about Virgos is that one side of their personality, you are also dual-minded. You are mercurial, but one of your twins is never available, because you're not really twins, you're like bilocating, if that makes sense. One of your twins is never available. And that's the one that, if you get to know that one somehow by accident, if you get deeply, deeply intimate with a Virgo, they may let you see this other side of them. That's the person, if you knew them, that their messy indoor life would make total sense. Your messy emotional life would make total sense. But what we're presented with on the external most of the time is the reaction to that one. The reaction being, we can't let anyone see this, the backlash would be too severe. Let me take the opposite of everything I am here and manifest it here as the perfect cover. Now, the thing about having a perfect cover is that people stop seeing you as a person, right? So it's not uncommon for Virgos to have parasocial relationships in their life, even though they're not famous, even though they're not well known. You have a mystique about you that develops. People will have parasocial relationships with you in high school, in college. They think they know you because they want to so bad. They think they're with you because they want to so bad. And of course, what they're reacting to, what's pulling them in, is that person that you've created as a reaction, as a way of keeping your real, chaotic, pretty soft self safe. What happens because you put on such a good act is that you attract people who aren't sincere, people who don't care about you, people who don't want to have anything in common with you, people who seem to build their relationships with you on heat, which is great because this automaton that you've created, it is very sexual. It's highly sexualized, actually. It's part of the thing. But when you get to know Virgos, you realize that that's not actually how their hypersexuality works. I mean, you can be hypersexual, but it's when one gets past that show and being in awe of that halo effect that it creates, that you can really get down to the person and the person themselves, who you are underneath. The real sexuality of a Virgo is in that chaos. It is in that messy indoor space that you don't let us see. That's where the rawness of you, the primal you that is very connected to sex and very connected to the body comes out. And if you're not sleeping with that Virgo, if you're sleeping with the other one who's just a show, it's very likely that you will get hurt. It's very likely that y'all will get hurt as well. And it causes quite a lot of pain. So you right now have assessed this, this split, right? You've been looking at this split throughout the retrograde and thinking, this would be so much easier if I could just be myself. And perhaps, Virgo, it's time. Perhaps it is time to be yourself. Perhaps it's time to maybe not let people see the mess. That's a little extreme. It's a little much. But maybe it's time to let the person who's always engaged and obligated to clean up that mess, maybe that person gets a break. Maybe that person gets to walk in the sunshine for a while. And the thing about this person that's cleaning up the mess all the time, maintaining the chaos behind the scenes, they're actually very good at discerning what's good for you and what makes you happy and what doesn't. That like parasocial magnet version of you isn't really good at that stuff because it doesn't really know you. It's a shield. You don't expect shields to be emotionally intelligent. Now, a big aspect of jumping out of this retrograde is professional. So there's good news coming, inshallah, and it comes out of nowhere. And you will, if you start this process now, these good tidings, this promotion, this money, this social acceptance, it really does feel like a result of you integrating. And sure, we can get very Jungian here, right? Are we talking about the shadow side? Are we talking about the integration of the shadow? Yeah, but the funny thing about the Virgo shadows is that the villain is the one that you see up front. That automaton, that parasocial magnet, that love magnet, that lust magnet. That's the person that you see, that's the person that you meet. The Virgo shadow is actually not chaotic. It's the one keeping track of the chaos. It's the one trying to wrangle all the chaos. So integrating your shadow side, I would say that you guys live through your shadow side. I would say your shadow side is the one that's always on display. And that you hide your real self quite a lot. So are we talking about integrating the shadow side? No. We're talking about giving the shadow a break, actually, and letting the real you come through and create relationships that are based in something, excuse me for saying so, but more real. You know, yes, of course, everybody wants to be adored. Everybody wants to be liked more, you know, in this larger than life way than other people. Of course. And you can get kind of addicted to that, right? Like, you can feed off of that kind of like obsessive, not love behavior, right? But this adoration, it's always empty and it doesn't do anything for you and it doesn't nourish you, because what's being adored isn't really you. So to be able to show who you really are is going to attract an enormous amount of good news and abundance from now until the end of the month, but also the relationships that you're able to deepen at this time, or to create. If you're in, you know, if you're interested in a new friend, a new person, a new lover, whatever, is the depth that can be experienced now is astounding. You know, I think you've always wanted to go to this place with yourself, with other people. I think you've always yearned to be this deep, but circumstances were such that it was just the wrong time. And now, after so much stillness and so much contemplation, it does feel like the right time. It doesn't feel like something rushed or forced or done for some reason, you know, some dumb reason. It's all very purposeful. It's all very intentional. And it feels good. It feels good to understand yourself enough, know yourself enough, like yourself enough to trust that that one can come out and be in the light and be safe. You trust yourself enough to let that one out where they can shine and they can attract, because you know that you're strong enough to deal with whatever that goodness attracts, and that you will be smart enough to discern what stays and what never gets near you. Because there are much, much bigger things now that come after this retrograde. Sure, the next 15 days is what you're doing, this is what you're experiencing, but long term, what this retrograde has done for you is that it has redefined your identity. And you are one that works in like these big themes, and then you work them down to a specific look or a specific education or a specific profession. And right now, these themes, these very large themes, have to do with knowing yourself so well, being accepting of all parts of you to such a degree that this show, this very kind of elaborate show that you put on, it doesn't feel the need to happen. Nothing is prompting it. Instead, you're being prompted into honest and authentic conversations with people, and you're connecting with people. You're moving forward, it seems like, very, very quickly these next 2 weeks, because we've got, 8 planets in retrograde? The past few weeks have been hell, right? Especially for those who are Mercury ruled. So you have your steam back, your engine is on, and now we want to focus on creating, like the Three of Pentacles, a well-oiled machine financially that just runs itself. So if you have any ideas recently about starting like an online course, publishing a book, putting out content that can be bought over and over again, intellectual property stuff, I would definitely look into that, because this is the perfect time to get started on something like that, which just goes to show you how it adds to your sense of self. You are beginning to change and become more mature, because your sense of self is becoming more and more important to you now that you're in touch with it. So don't be afraid of spending time with yourself. Don't be afraid of spending money with yourself. Don't be afraid of talking to your friends about yourself, your plight, whatever. This is how we learn, but also how we get strong. And that communication is key, especially if what you want to build is something very long term. Good. I will show you these cards in the extended, and we're going to get into all my notes that I wrote here, including, let's talk about Jupiter retrograde, because we didn't really get to talk about it. And Jupiter's retrograde in Taurus, so fellow earth sign, definitely affecting you, but everything is in retrograde right now, so it's quite a time. Congratulations, and I'm so very sorry that your season went by so slowly and yet so quickly. If there was any information that I could have gotten my hands on that would make its way from here to here, I would have given it to you. But as a Virgo moon, I have been completely stunted in a way that's actually terrifying. My mind just wouldn't work. Really scary. But I understand now why it happened. Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Virgo rising. The brain has to become less capable because it's doing an overhaul of the system. It can't give all its operating power or all its like processing power to the operating system when there are some backlogs here. There is some stuff that needs to be checked out and eradicated. You know, some imagery has gotten in there, some symbology has gotten in there that is keeping us still. And as a mercurial person, the last thing you want is to be still. You want to be out here doing whatever you want, moving as fast as you want. So we got to drop some of that excess emotional weight. That's a big part of this as well. Now moving out of the retrograde and into Mercury direct, you will find quite a lot of different opportunities that just require, again, for you to take initiative and just reach out and grab it and it's yours. But you may be feeling a little lethargic and a little exhausted. It's like, I haven't done anything for a few weeks. Why am I tired? Because your mind has been working in overdrive and your body is just trying to keep up. So even though you have a lot going on, even though you have a lot to think about, I would highly recommend that you put your sleep first and just get back on track in terms of rest. And then you can really think straight and do what you need to. I love you. Happy Virgo season. Happy Mercury retrograde.